Wade Wilson had experienced many strange things in his long, cancer-riddled, regeneration-blessed life. He'd been decapitated, blown up, shot into space, and once spent 3 weeks as a pile of sentient ground beef. But this was new. One moment he'd been fighting some D-list villain whose name he'd already forgotten, something about temporal mechanics and a glowing MacGuffin, and the next, reality folded like a pop-up book designed by M.C. Escher on acid, colors inverted. Physics suggestions became optional, and Wade felt the distinct sensation of being yanked through existence itself by his intestines. He landed face first on concrete that smelled like piss, motor oil, and broken dreams. Very New York, very familiar. Except, okay, what fresh hell is this? Wade groaned, peeling himself off the alley pavement. His mask had somehow stayed on. Small miracles, but his katanas were gone. So were his guns, even his emergency gun and his emergency knife. He looked up at the billboard towering over the alley. A blond man in an American flag cape smiled down, with teeth so white they probably had their own dental plan. The text read, "Homelander, America's greatest hero, brought to you by Vought International." Wade tilted his head. Homelander? What kind of dollar store Superman name is that? And who the hell is Vought? He glanced down the alley toward the street. A bus rolled past, its side plastered with another advertisement. This one showed 7 costumed figures in a dramatic pose. The 7, protecting you, protecting America. The 7, not the Avengers, not the X-Men, not even the Great Lakes Avengers. Wade's eye twitched behind his mask. Oh no, no. He ran to the street, ignoring the pedestrians who barely glanced at his red and black costume. Apparently, masked weirdos were normal here, and grabbed a newspaper from a stand. The vendor shouted something about payment, but Wade was too busy staring at the headline. Queen Maeve saves Subway from derailment. Vought stock soars. His hands started shaking, not from fear, from realization. "I'm not in Marvel anymore," he whispered. Then louder, "I'm not in Marvel anymore." A woman passing by muttered, "Another soup having a breakdown. Typical." Wade grabbed her shoulders. "Ma'am, I need you to tell me something very important. Do you know who Spider-Man is? Get off me, you freak." She shoved him away. "What about the Avengers? The X-Men? Wolverine? Does anyone here know who Wolverine is?" He was spinning now, addressing the crowd that had formed a wide berth around him. Captain America, Iron Man, the Fantastic Four, literally any of them. A teenager filming on his phone called out, "Is this some kind of viral marketing thing?" Wade's shoulders sagged. He looked up at the sky, addressing the audience he knew was always watching. "Okay, which one of you script-writing sadists did this? Was it the Disney merger? Did I get transferred to a different corporate overlord because I have notes about this creative direction?" A police siren wailed in the distance, getting closer. "Right. Cops. Those are still a thing." Wade spotted a fire escape and launched himself at it, his enhanced agility making the climb easy despite his missing weapons. He scaled to the rooftop and surveyed this twisted mirror version of New York. The skyline was familiar but wrong. The Avengers Tower wasn't there. Instead, a massive building dominated Midtown with a glowing V at its apex. Vought Tower, presumably. Advertisements for superheroes covered every available surface. Corporate sponsorships, energy drinks, streaming shows. "This is wrong," Wade muttered. "Superheroes don't. Okay, we totally do brand deals, but this is different. This feels gross, like grosser than usual." His regenerative power tingled at the base of his skull, his danger sense, the one that had kept him alive through countless suicide missions. Something in this universe felt fundamentally wrong, corrupt. rotten. A news helicopter passed overhead, its spotlight sweeping the rooftops. Wade ducked behind an air conditioning unit and watched it search for something. Or someone. Great, I've been here 5 minutes and I'm already wanted for, what? Public confusion, unauthorized universe hopping. He checked his belt pouches. At least those had made the trip. Spare ammo for guns he didn't have, a few throwing knives and, bless whatever gods were listening, 3 chimichangas wrapped in tin foil. He unwrapped one and took a bite. Still warm. Physics might be negotiable, but chimichangas were eternal. Okay, Wade. Assessment time. He counted on his fingers. 1. You're in a universe where Marvel doesn't exist. 2. The superheroes here are corporate-sponsored pretty boys with names like Homelander. 3. Nobody's impressed by a guy in a costume, which means soups are common. 4. Your healing factor still works. He stabbed himself in the leg with a throwing knife to confirm. The wound sealed in seconds. Yep, still unkillable. 5. You have no money, no contacts, and no idea what the rules are here. The helicopter's spotlight swept back toward his position. And 6, someone's already looking for you, which means your dramatic entrance was probably caught on about 50 security cameras. He stood up, brushing chimichanga crumbs off his suit. So, business as usual, really. Wade looked out at the sea of corporate superhero propaganda and felt something unusual stir in his chest. Not quite heroism, he'd never been good at that. Not quite rage, he'd burned through most of that years ago. No, this was curiosity mixed with opportunity. In his world, he was a joke, a side character. The comic relief who occasionally got his own movie. But here, nobody knew him. Nobody expected anything. Time to make some terrible first impressions, Wade said, grinning under his mask. He spotted a particularly large billboard showing Homelander's smug face and pulled out a throwing knife. With practiced precision, he hurled it across the gap, watching it puncture the hero's eye on the advertisement. If you want to see more characters enter different universes, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character and the universe you'd want to see them in down in the comments below. And remember, kids, with great power comes great merchandising opportunities. He dropped off the edge of the building, firing a grappling line he'd forgotten was in his belt, and swung into the neon-soaked night of this strange new world. Behind him, the news helicopter's camera caught everything. The footage went viral in 47 minutes. In a sterile conference room on the 82nd floor of Vought Tower, Ashley Barrett's left eye twitched as she watched the video for the 19th time. The masked figure in red and black, vandalizing Homelander's billboard, talking to an invisible audience like a lunatic, and then, impossibly, swan diving off a 15-story building only to swing away like some kind of discount Spider-Man. Who the fuck is that? Ashley's voice climbed 3 octaves on the last word. Across the table, Adam Bork from Analytics adjusted his glasses nervously. We don't know. Facial recognition got nothing. The mask blocks everything. But social media's already given him a name. Red Menace. No, interrupted Stan Edgar, Vaught's CEO, sitting at the head of the table with the calm of a man who'd seen worse PR disasters before breakfast. That's not what concerns me. What concerns me is the message. He tapped his tablet, rewinding to the part where the figure addressed an invisible audience. He's talking to people who aren't there. Specifically, he's talking like he's performing, like he knows he's being watched. So he's insane, Ashley said. Great. Another insane soup. Do you know how many of those we deal with per quarter? No, Ms. Barrett. He's aware. Stan's eyes narrowed. And awareness in an uncontrolled asset is dangerous. Madison, what do we know about his powers? A young analyst pulled up enhanced footage. The jump should have killed him, or at least broken bones. He moved with enhanced agility and strength. And here, she froze the frame. He stabs himself in the leg. The wound closes in under 10 seconds. The room went quiet. Regeneration, Stan said softly. Fast regeneration. That puts him potentially in the same class as Homelander in terms of durability. Homelander's going to lose his shit, Ashley muttered, then caught herself. I mean, Homelander will want to handle this personally. Which is precisely why we're going to bring this asset in before Homelander knows he exists. Stan stood, buttoning his suit jacket. I want a team assembled. Find him. Offer him a contract. If he's enhanced, he either works for us or he becomes a problem that needs solving. And if he doesn't want to sign? Adam asked. Stan's smile didn't reach his eyes. Then we remind him that in this world, every superhero is either with Vought or buried by Vought. There is no third option. 3 hours later, Wade was discovering that breaking into corporate offices was much easier when you didn't care about setting off alarms. He'd spent the evening gathering intelligence the old-fashioned way. Bar fights, mugging muggers, and hacking a laptop he'd stolen from a Vought Junior executive who'd been dumb enough to leave it in his car. The password had been Homelander. People never changed. What he'd learned had made his regenerating stomach turn. Vought International didn't just manage superheroes, they manufactured them. Compound V, a serum injected into babies, created soups. The heroes weren't born, they were products. Marketed, controlled, and sold to the highest bidder or the most desperate city council. Well, that's dystopian as hell, Wade muttered. Crouched in the ventilation shaft above a Vought research facility in Brooklyn. And I've seen some dystopian shit. I once spent a week in the Dark Beast's lab. This is worse. Below him, scientists in clean suits monitored rows of test subjects. Homeless people, from the looks of their intake photos, promised money and housing in exchange for clinical trials. Wade watched as one man screamed behind reinforced glass, his body convulsing as Compound V rewrote his DNA. Some survived, some didn't. The ones who didn't were quietly removed by orderlies who looked far too practiced at body disposal. Okay, new plan, Wade whispered to himself. Burn this whole operation to the ground, kill everyone responsible, and... His danger sense screamed. Wade rolled sideways just as the ventilation shaft exploded inward. A figure in tactical gear crashed through, moving with enhanced speed. Then another, and another. 6 total, all wearing body armor marked with the Vought logo, all armed with weapons that definitely weren't standard issue. Target acquired, one said into his comm. Engaging. Oh, you boys really shouldn't have. Wade's voice carried genuine glee as he dropped through the torn vent shaft, landing in a crouch among the startled scientists. I mean, you absolutely should have. I was getting bored. But you shouldn't have. The tactical team opened fire. Wade danced through the barrage, his enhanced reflexes making their aim look amateurish. Bullets that did connect punched through his suit and flesh, but the wounds sealed almost instantly. He grabbed a fire extinguisher off the wall and hurled it like a missile, catching one operative in the chest and sending him crashing through a computer bank. Question, Wade shouted over the gunfire, using a desk as a springboard to kick another operative in the face. Does Vought provide dental in your benefits package? Because my guy here just lost about 6 teeth. He wrenched a rifle from one attacker's hands, reversed it, and used it as a club. The stock shattered against a helmet, but Wade had already moved on, flowing between opponents with the grace of a man who'd spent decades learning to fight multiple enemies simultaneously. Also, quick poll. He snapped one operative's arm, disarmed him, and used the man as a human shield against his buddy's gunfire. Do you guys know you're working for literal supervillains? Because I've fought supervillains. Lots of them. Some of them were actually pretty chill once you got past the world domination thing. But you corporate types? You're scarier than Thanos. A dart hit him in the neck. Wade looked down at it, then up at the operative who'd fired it. Tranquilizer, cute, but my healing factor processes. The world tilted. His regeneration kicked in, burning through the drug, but more darts hit him. 5, 6, 7, each one carrying enough sedative to drop an elephant. Okay, that's more than expected. Wade stumbled, his vision blurring. This is really good drugs. What are these elephant tranks? He collapsed to one knee, fighting to stay conscious. Through the haze, he saw a woman in an expensive business suit walk into the room, flanked by 2 more guards. Mr. Wilson, she said, reading from a tablet. Wade Wilson. Former Special Forces, cancer patient, experimental treatment subject, mercenary, regenerative healing factor, dimensional displacement from parallel universe. Did I miss anything? Wade's head lolled. How do you... We've been tracking interdimensional anomalies since the particle accelerator incident last year. When you literally fell through reality into our world, every sensor in the city lit up. She crouched down to his eye level. My name is Madeline Stillwell. I'm Vice President of Hero Management at Vought International, and I'm here to make you an offer. Go fuck yourself, Wade managed. Madeline smiled. We can give you everything. Money, fame, a place in this world. All you have to do is sign with Vought. Become one of our heroes. With your regeneration and combat skills, you'd be perfect for the 7. Think about it. Unlimited resources, no more jobs, no more running. Wade's regeneration finally burned through enough sedative for clarity to return. He looked up at her, and even through his mask, his contempt was palpable. Lady, I've met a lot of manipulative psychopaths. I've worked for most of them, but you corporate types are something special. He forced himself to stand, swaying but upright. You don't want heroes. You want products, and I'm nobody's product. Then you're nobody's hero either, Madeline said coldly. She gestured to her guards. Take him to containment. We'll discuss his options when he's more reasonable. More tranquilizer darts hit Wade. This time, his healing factor couldn't keep up. As consciousness faded, his last thought was clear. I've made a huge mistake. Homelander stood before the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse suite, watching the sunrise paint New York in shades of gold and crimson. Behind him, the 70-inch television played news coverage on mute. Something about another school shooting, another political scandal, another day in the beautiful nightmare of America. He didn't care about any of it. What he cared about was the video playing on his phone for the 43rd time. The masked figure, the disrespect, the vandalism of his billboard, his face. Sir? A-Train's voice came from the doorway, hesitant. The speedster had learned the hard way not to interrupt Homelander's morning routine, but sometimes interruptions were necessary. We've got the briefing in 10 minutes, about the new soup. I know what time the briefing is. A-Train. Homelander's voice was perfectly controlled, which was somehow worse than shouting. I'm not an idiot. Right, of course not, Who is he? What? Homelander turned and A-Train flinched. Those blue eyes that America loved, that children dressed up as for Halloween, that sold more merchandise than Mickey Mouse, they were empty, shark eyes. The man in red, who is he? We don't know yet. Vaught's trying to... Vought doesn't know. Homelander walked toward A-Train with measured steps. Vought, With all their resources, all their surveillance, all their Compound V experiments, doesn't know who this asshole is. How is that possible, A-Train? I don't know, sir. Neither do I. But what I do know is that someone is running around my city, wearing a costume, showing off powers, and making me look bad. Do you understand how that makes me feel? A-Train nodded quickly. Ashley said they captured him. He's in containment now. Homelander's face transformed instantly. The smile that sold soft drinks and breakfast cereals and American exceptionalism. Well then, let's go meet our new friend. The briefing room on the 99th floor was already full when Homelander arrived. The Deep sat in his usual spot, scrolling through his phone, probably reading more bad press about the sexual harassment allegations he'd somehow dodged. Black Noir stood motionless in the corner, silent as always. Queen Maeve nursed a coffee that probably had vodka in it, looking like she'd rather be anywhere else. Madeline Stillwell stood at the head of the table, perfectly composed despite having been awake for 18 hours. Stan Edgar sat beside her, his presence turning the meeting from routine to significant. Ah, Homelander. Madeline's smile was professional plastic. Perfect timing. We were just about to discuss our new acquisition. Acquisition? Homelander took his seat at the center of the table. His seat, even though no one had ever officially designated it as such. I thought we captured a threat. Every threat is an opportunity, Stan said evenly. The individual we apprehended last night possesses a remarkable regenerative healing factor. Faster than anything we've seen outside of you, Homelander. He's also highly trained in combat, tactically creative, and most importantly, he's not registered with any agency, government, or organization. Which means, Queen Maeve asked, actually paying attention now. Which means he's a blank slate. No history in this world. No past scandals or liabilities. Madeline pulled up footage on the screen. Wade, sedated and secured to a medical table, surrounded by scientists taking samples. We can shape his narrative completely, make him whatever we need. Homelander watched the video with growing irritation. Even unconscious, the man looked dangerous. The scars visible where they'd removed his suit told stories of violence survived. The way his flesh regrew around the IV needles was fascinating and infuriating. Why would we need another regenerator? Homelander asked. You have me. The room's temperature seemed to drop. Of course we do, Madeline said smoothly. And you're irreplaceable, Homelander. But the market research shows audiences respond well to team dynamics. Having another hero with complementary powers makes the Seven stronger. Makes you look stronger as their leader. It was a masterful lie, and everyone in the room knew it except possibly the Deep. Homelander's jaw clenched, but his smile never wavered. What's his name? He asked. He calls himself Deadpool, Stan said, pulling up Wade's file, or rather the file Vought had compiled in the last 12 hours. Wade Wilson, former military, mercenary background, cancer survivor. The regeneration appears to be the result of an experimental treatment from his original universe. Universe? A-Train leaned forward. As in parallel dimension? As in, he's not from here, Stan confirmed, which creates unique opportunities and unique challenges. He has no social security number, no birth certificate, no legal identity in this world. We can craft him into whatever narrative we choose. Black Noir tilted his head slightly, the most reaction he ever gave. And what does Mr. Wilson want? Queen Maeve asked. Because nobody with regeneration and combat training is going to just roll over and become your puppet. That's what we're about to find out. Madeline stood. He's been awake for 20 minutes. I wanted you all present for the interview. The containment cell was overkill by design. Reinforced walls that could hold Homelander, theoretically. cameras in every corner, armed guards stationed outside with strict orders to sedate the prisoner every 4 hours, regardless of behavior. Wade Wilson sat on the metal bench, still in his red and black suit, though they'd confiscated every weapon and removed his mask. The face underneath was exactly what the scarring suggested, a roadmap of trauma, burned and healed and burned again, until normal features were replaced by something that made visitors uncomfortable. He looked up when the door opened and the 7 walked in with their corporate handlers. "Holy shit," Wade said. His voice was rough, amused. "It's the Justice League from the bad timeline, or the Avengers if Disney hadn't bought Marvel. Or wait, let me guess. You're the X-Men if Professor X was replaced by a corporate board of directors." "Silence," Homelander commanded, stepping forward. The American flag on his cape seemed to wave in a breeze that didn't exist. Wade stared at him for a long moment, then burst into laughter. Oh my God, you're the Superman knockoff. I saw your face on like 80 billboards. What's your deal? Super strength, flight, laser eyes. Let me guess, you can do all of it, but you're also a complete psychopath because nobody ever told you no as a child. Homelander's eye twitched. Queen Maeve coughed to hide a laugh. "Mr. Wilson," Madeline stepped between them. "We've brought you here to discuss your supervillain operation," Wade interrupted. "Yeah, I hacked your files last night before Captain America's evil twin sent a strike team after me. Compound V, injecting babies, creating heroes from scratch. Very Weapon X of you, except Weapon X had the decency to use volunteers. You're just dosing kids and seeing what sticks." The room went silent. "Well, that's interesting," Stan Edgar said, his expression never changing. "You seem to have learned quite a bit in your brief time here." "I'm a fast learner, and I have experience with unethical medical experiments." Wade gestured to his face. "This wasn't a fashion choice." "Then you understand the value of what Compound V represents," Stan continued. "Power, evolution, the next step in human development. I understand you're playing God and getting rich doing it." Wade stood, chains rattling. "I also understand that Homelander over there is about 3 seconds from lasering me in half because I insulted his billboard. Go ahead, Stars and Stripes. Give it your best shot." "Sit down." Homelander's voice dropped to a growl. "Make me Boy Scout." What happened next occurred in less than a second. Homelander's eyes glowed red, heat vision lancing out. Wade didn't move. The beams hit him center mass, burning through suit and flesh, superheating his chest cavity. Wade looked down at the smoking hole where his sternum used to be. Huh, that actually hurt. They watched as the wound closed, flesh and bone regenerating in real time. Within seconds, Wade was intact again, if still smoldering slightly. "Okay, that's really impressive," the Deep muttered. Homelander's face transformed, rage replacing composure. He moved with superhuman speed, grabbing Wade by the throat and slamming him into the reinforced wall hard enough to crack it. "You think you're special?" Homelander's voice was venomous. "You think your little healing trick makes you untouchable? I could tear you apart piece by piece. I could reduce you to atoms. I could drop you in the ocean and let you regenerate forever at the bottom where no one will ever find you." Wade, despite being choked, managed to rasp, "Sounds kinky." "Do you talk like this to all the guys, or am I special?" Homelander squeezed harder. Wade's healing factor kept his throat from being crushed, but it was a near thing. "Homelander," Stan Edgar's voice cut through the tension like a scalpel. "Release him, now!" For a moment, it seemed like Homelander might refuse. His eyes glowed, his grip tightened. Then he dropped Wade and stepped back, smile returning as if nothing had happened. "Just establishing dominance," Homelander said cheerfully. Right, Wade. We understand each other now. Wade rubbed his throat, healing the bruises. Oh, we understand each other perfectly, Cape Boy. You're the psychopath with a god complex. I've met a bunch of those. Usually ends badly for them. This interview is over, Madeline declared. Mr. Wilson, you have 48 hours to consider Vaught's offer. Join us, become a hero, earn more money than you can imagine. Or refuse, and we'll find other uses for someone with your unique biology. Compound V research always needs test subjects. She turned to leave, the 7 following. But Wade's voice stopped them. You know what the difference is between your world and mine. They paused. In my world, the heroes at least pretend to give a shit. Here, you don't even bother with the pretense. You're just monsters in capes. Wade's smile was sharp and unpleasant. But here's the thing about monsters. They're not scary once you know what they are. They're just targets. Homelander turned back, but Stan Edgar put a hand on his shoulder. Let it go. He'll learn. As the door sealed, leaving Wade alone in his cell again, he spoke to the cameras he knew were watching. Okay, real talk. I need help. Like, serious help. Because I'm good, but I'm not take on an entire evil corporation by myself good. He paused. Actually, I totally am that good, but it would be easier with backup. So if there are any actual heroes in this god-forsaken universe, now would be a great time to make yourselves known. In a safe house in Brooklyn, Billy Butcher watched the hacked security footage on his laptop and smiled like a shark. Well, well, he said to the empty room. Looks like we found our wild card. The safe house smelled like cigarettes, stale beer, and barely contained violence. Billy Butcher sat at a table covered in surveillance photos, weapon schematics, and Vought intelligence reports that technically didn't exist. His laptop showed frozen frames of Wade Wilson, Deadpool apparently, being escorted through Vought Tower in chains. You're joking, Huey Campbell said from the doorway, holding 2 bags of takeout. His voice still carried that nervous energy of someone who hadn't quite accepted that his life had turned into a nightmare. You want to break into Vought Tower, the most secure building in New York, to rescue a guy we don't even know? I want to recruit him, Butcher corrected, not looking up. Big difference. How is that different? Recruiting implies he'll be grateful. Breaking him out implies he owes us. Butcher finally looked at Huey, his expression hard. And we need someone who owes us. Mother's Milk entered from the back room, drying his hands. I saw the footage. Man regenerates. Big deal. Homelander could still tear him in half. Could he, though? Frenchie emerged from the basement, carrying a duffel bag of equipment. His accent was thick with excitement. I have watched the video 47 times. The healing, it is not like Kimiko. It is faster, more complete. Homelander's heat vision, it burns through him and poof, good as new in seconds. Exactly, Butcher said. Homelander threw everything at him short of actually ripping him apart, and the bloke just kept talking shit. That's either the stupidest bastard alive or the most dangerous. Why not both? Huey asked weakly. Kimiko appeared silently beside Frenchie, signing rapidly. Frenchie translated, She says the man has the eyes of someone who has died many times. She recognizes it. Butcher nodded. Right then. We've got a regenerating mouthy bastard locked in Vought Tower, and Homelander's already got a hate boner for him. That makes him useful to us. Assuming he wants out, MM pointed out, for all we know, he's negotiating with them right now. He called them monsters in capes on live security footage. Butcher pulled up the video again. This is a man who doesn't negotiate. He insults, fights, and pisses everyone off. He's perfect. Perfect for what? Huey asked. For chaos, lad. For making Homelander lose his shit. For drawing attention while we work on the real plan. Butcher stood, pacing. We've been trying to take down Vought for years. Every time they're 3 steps ahead. Every time they've got countermeasures. But this Wilson character, he's an unknown. He's from another fucking universe, which means he's not in their databases, not in their projections. He's the chaos variable. And when chaos bites us in the ass, asked, then we bite back harder. Butcher lit a cigarette. Frenchie, can you get us in? Into Vought Tower. With what you are asking? Frenchie considered. Maybe. They have upgraded security since the last time, but I have made friends with a maintenance crew supervisor. He likes to gamble, likes it very much, owes me favors. How many favors? Enough to get us into the service tunnels. After that? Frenchie shrugged. We improvise. Brilliant. Butcher turned to Kimiko. You're our exit strategy. Soon as we grab Wilson, you clear the path. No holding back. Kimiko's smile was feral. Huey, you're on surveillance. Keep us updated on guard positions, camera rotations, everything. Butcher looked at And you're our tactical coordinator. Keep us from doing anything too stupid. That's a full-time job with you, muttered, but he was already studying building schematics. What about me? Huey asked. What am I actually doing besides watching cameras? You're the conscience, lad. Butcher's expression softened slightly. When we get Wilson out, someone needs to explain we're the good guys, or at least the less evil guys. That's not going to be me. Because you'll be threatening him. Because I'll be honest with him. And honesty sounds like threats when you're dealing with mercenaries. Wade had been in worse prisons. The time Taskmaster locked him in that submarine came to mind, or the 3 weeks in the X-Men's danger room after he'd accidentally set off every training protocol simultaneously. But Vaught's containment cell was impressively unpleasant in its sterile efficiency. They'd replaced his suit with gray prison scrubs. His mask was gone, leaving his face exposed to cameras and whatever poor security guard had to watch him. They'd even taken his emergency chimichanga. Monsters, Wade muttered, pacing the cell. Taking a man's emergency food. What if there was an emergency? What if I got emergency hungry? The speaker crackled. Subject is talking to himself again. I'm not talking to myself, I'm talking to you, generic security guard number 3. There's a difference. Wade waved at the camera. Also, your camera work is terrible. Very unflattering angles. Have you considered film school? Prisoner will cease speaking. Prisoner will cease your mom. Wade paused. Sorry, that was immature. But also, you started it with the whole silence thing. Very rude. I'm a person with feelings, mostly rage and hunger, but still feelings. He'd been here for 6 hours, long enough to catalog every surface, identify 3 potential weaknesses in the cell design, and contemplate whether his healing factor would let him survive eating the metal bench if he got hungry enough. The door hissed open. Wade spun, expecting more corporate handlers or maybe Homelander back for round 2. Instead, a young woman entered, maybe early 20s, professional attire, nervous energy radiating off her like heat. Mr. Wilson, she said, clutching a tablet like a shield. I'm Jessica Bradley from HR. I'm here to discuss your employment options with Vought International. Wade stared at her. HR? They sent HR? I murdered 6 people last night. Actually, our records show you injured them, but fatalities were 0. And they sent HR to talk to me about employment options? Jessica's smile was practiced but strained. Vought believes in second chances and third chances, and honestly, quite a few chances as long as you're profitable. She caught herself. I mean, as long as you align with our company values. Your company values include drugging babies and creating superhuman weapons for profit. Well, yes, but we have excellent dental. Jessica pulled up forms on her tablet. If you sign with Vought, you'll receive a starting salary of $5 million annually, full benefits, housing in Vought Tower, a personal assistant, and placement on a team. Given your skill set, we're considering you for the 7, but there would be a probationary period. Wade walked closer, watching her flinch slightly. And what do I have to do for this generous offer? Attend public events, film commercials, participate in team exercises, and occasionally intervene in high-profile crimes that have been pre-approved by our public relations department. Pre-approved crimes? We try to maximize media impact per intervention. It's more efficient. Jessica's corporate mask was slipping, revealing someone who probably hated every word coming out of her mouth. Look, Mr. Wilson, I'm going to be honest because I've been awake for 36 hours and I can't keep doing the corporate speak. Sign the contract or don't. But understand that Vought doesn't let enhanced individuals just walk away. You're either an asset or a threat. Assets get paid, threats get disappeared. Is that what happened to all the failed Compound V trials? They just disappear. Jessica's silence was answer enough. Here's my counteroffer, Wade said. You let me out, I promise not to tell everyone about the mass murder operation you're running in Brooklyn, and we part as friends. I can't do that. Can't or won't. Both. Jessica looked genuinely apologetic. Security is listening. If I tried to help you, we'd both end up in cells. Or worse. The lights cut out. Emergency reds kicked in immediately, bathing everything in crimson. Alarms wailed. Jessica's tablet went dark. What the hell? She whispered. Wade's danger sense screamed. He grabbed Jessica and pulled her behind him, just as the cell door exploded inward. A figure in tactical gear rolled through the smoke. Not Vought security. Different gear. Different energy. Wade Wilson. The man had a British accent and the eyes of someone who'd seen too much and enjoyed most of it. Name's Butcher. I'm here to offer you a better deal than these corporate cunts. More figures appeared. A woman with wild eyes and wilder fighting skills, a thin man with French accent carrying gadgets, a large man who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else, and a nervous kid with a laptop. We're the boys, Butcher continued. We kill soups for a living, and we could use someone who can't be killed. Interested? Wade looked at Jessica, then at Butcher, then back at Jessica. HR, I'm going to need to put my 2 weeks' notice on hold. I found a better opportunity. They're terrorists, Jessica shouted. Debatable, the French man said cheerfully. Wade shrugged. Lady, I've worked with terrorists before. Hell, I've been a terrorist before. Multiple times. It's kind of my thing. He turned to Butcher. What's the pay? Shit. The benefits? Non-existent. Job security. You'll probably die. Except you can't, so you'll probably just suffer a lot. Wade grinned. I'm in. When do we start killing evil superheroes? Right fucking now, Butcher said, because Homelander's 3 floors away and heading this direction very, very fast. The building shook as someone, tore through walls above them. Run! MM shouted. They ran. The service tunnels beneath Vought Tower were a maze of pipes, electrical conduits, and decades of corporate infrastructure that nobody had properly maintained. Wade ran behind Butcher's team, listening to Homelander's rage echo through the building above them. Left, Huey shouted from somewhere ahead, his laptop screen providing the only light beyond their flashlights. Security's converging on the main corridor. We need to go through the old HVAC system. The one that's been condemned since 2015? MM asked, incredulous. You got a better idea? Wade vaulted over a bundle of cables, his regeneration already healing the burns on his wrists from the restraints he'd snapped. So, new friends, let's establish some ground rules. 1. I don't do the whole team loyalty thing. 2. I kill people, like a lot of people. 3. If this is some elaborate scheme to experiment on me, I'll make what I did to Vaught's strike team look like a tickle fight. Noted, Butcher said without slowing. Now shut up and keep running. Kimiko suddenly stopped, signing frantically. Frenchie translated, 8 guards ahead, automatic weapons. They know we're coming. Brilliant. Butcher checked his pistol. Frenchie, you got any of those flashbangs left? 2. That'll have to do. Kimiko, you and Wilson go first. Make noise. We'll flank. Wade cracked his knuckles. Finally, some action. I was starting to think this was just going to be a boring prison break. You've been free for 90 seconds, Huey pointed out. Exactly. Way too long without violence. The guards never stood a chance. Kimiko moved like liquid death, her enhanced strength and speed turning the narrow corridor into a kill box. Wade followed, absorbing bullets that would have hit the others, his body jerking with impacts before healing instantly. He grabbed one guard's rifle, reversed it, and used it as a club while Kimiko systematically dismantled the others. "Cease fire!" one guard screamed. "He's not going down!" "Yeah, that's kind of my thing," Wade shouted back, punching through Kevlar and ribs with equal ease. "It's very inconvenient for you guys. Great for me, though." 30 seconds later, 8 guards lay unconscious or groaning on the ground. Wade hadn't killed anyone, mostly because Kimiko was faster, but he'd certainly made his point. Butcher stepped over the bodies, barely glancing at the carnage. "Not bad. You two work well together." Kimiko studied Wade with those unsettling eyes, then signed something. "She says you fight like someone who doesn't care if they die," Frenchie translated. Wade's grin faded slightly. "I fight like someone who can't die. There's a difference." The building shook again, harder this time. Dust rained from the ceiling. "He's getting closer," MM said. "We need to move faster." "Remind me," Wade said as they ran, "exactly how pissed off is Captain Genocide up there?" "His name's Homelander, and he's extremely pissed," Huey answered. "You insulted him, damaged his property, and now you're escaping. He's probably gone full psycho." "Full psycho? Like on a scale of 1 to Thanos?" The ceiling exploded. Homelander descended through concrete and rebar like an avenging angel designed by a fascist marketing team. His eyes glowed red, his cape somehow still perfect despite the destruction, and his smile was the terrifying kind that preceded murder. "Going somewhere, Wade?" His voice was cheerful, which made it worse. "Oh shit," Huey whispered. "Everyone run," Butcher shouted. They scattered as heat vision carved through where they'd been standing. Wade felt the beam graze his shoulder, burning through flesh to bone. The pain was extraordinary. Homelander's heat vision was hotter than anything he'd experienced outside of nuclear reactors, and that one time with the Dragon's breath rounds. "You know what pisses me off?" Homelander descended slowly, like a cat playing with mice. "It's not the insults. I've heard those before. It's not even the escape attempt. It's that you made me look weak in front of my team, in front of Stan Edgar, in front of everyone." Wade's shoulder finished healing. "Your fragile ego isn't my problem, Cape Boy." "No, but it's about to be your very permanent situation." Homelander's eyes flared brighter. Butcher fired from the darkness. Not at Homelander, but at a support beam already weakened by the heat vision. The metal groaned, buckled, and collapsed, bringing half the ceiling down between them and Homelander. "Move!" MM was already running toward an emergency exit. They burst through a door into an underground parking garage. Frenchie's van, a beat-up vehicle that looked like it failed inspection in 3 different states, sat in the corner. "Everyone in!" Frenchie shouted, jumping into the driver's seat. Wade piled in with the others, cramming into the back with Kimiko and Huey, while MM took shotgun. The van's engine roared to life, surprisingly powerful for something held together with duct tape and prayer. Behind them, Homelander tore through the collapsed ceiling like tissue paper. "Drive!" Butcher yelled unnecessarily. Frenchie drove. The van screamed up the parking garage ramp, tires squealing, leaving rubber and the smell of burning clutch. Homelander pursued, flying now, his face twisted with rage. "He's gaining!" Huey shouted, watching through the rear window. "I noticed!" Frenchie took a corner hard enough to lift 2 wheels off the ground. Wade grabbed a duffel bag from the floor. "Anyone mind if I use these?" He pulled out what looked like military-grade explosives. "Those are for the bridge job," MM protested. "Bridge job's cancelled." Wade was already rigging a crude bomb. "Kimiko, when I say now, throw this out the back." She nodded, taking the explosive. They burst out of the parking garage into New York traffic. Frenchie swerved between cars, running red lights, driving like someone who'd learned to drive in Paris and decided traffic laws were suggestions. Homelander was 20 feet behind them, closing fast. "Now!" Kimiko hurled the explosive with superhuman strength. It arced back toward Homelander, who sneered and prepared to swat it aside. It exploded mid-air, the blast enough to shatter windows for 3 blocks. Homelander tanked it easily, but the shockwave and debris cloud gave them precious seconds. "Turn here," Butcher pointed to an alley. Frenchie yanked the wheel. The van barely fit, scraping paint off both sides. They emerged onto a side street, then another turn. Then into an underground tunnel that definitely wasn't on any map. After 2 minutes of winding through the dark, Frenchie killed the lights and engine. They sat in silence, listening. No sound of pursuit. No laser vision burning through walls. Nothing. "Did we lose him?" Huey whispered. "Temporarily," Butcher said. "He'll find us eventually. Homelander always does." Wade looked at the group. This ragtag collection of traumatized, desperate people trying to fight gods with guns and attitude. "So, this is the boys? You guys fight Homelander regularly?" "We try not to fight him directly," MM said. "That's suicide." "We expose him," Butcher corrected. "Undermine him. Turn public opinion. Make him vulnerable to the one thing he actually fears." "What's that?" "People not loving him anymore." Butcher lit a cigarette in the dark. "Homelander's a narcissist with god-level powers. He doesn't fear death. He fears irrelevance. He fears being unloved." Wade processed this. "That's actually smart. Twisted, but smart." "Welcome to the team," Butcher said. "Now let's talk about what you can do for us, and what we can do for you." "I want to burn Vought to the ground." "Get in line, mate. But first, we need leverage." Butcher pulled out a file, actual paper, not digital. "You said you hacked their systems before they grabbed you. What did you find?" "Everything," Wade said. "Compound V trials, failure rates, cover-ups, the whole operation. I downloaded it before they hit me with the elephant tranks." "Where?" Wade tapped his temple. "Eidetic memory. One of the side effects of the regeneration. I can't forget anything. Which is usually annoying but occasionally useful." Butcher's smile was sharp. "You beautiful, scarred bastard. You just became our most valuable asset. Does this mean I get dental? You heal from everything. What do you need dental for?" "Fair point." Wade looked at each of them. "Okay, new team. Ground rules. I don't do the hero thing. I'm not going to hold back when we fight these people. And I reserve the right to mock everyone constantly, because that's how I cope with trauma." "Agreed," Butcher said. "In return, we give you targets, intel, and backup. We help you understand this world, and we don't ask questions about where you came from or what you did before." "What about him?" MM pointed at Wade. "Does he even know what Compound V actually is?" "Evil super serum that makes evil super people," Wade summarized. "Close enough," Huey muttered. Frenchie started the engine again. "We should go to the safe house. Vought will be looking everywhere for us." As they drove through the dark tunnels, Wade stared at his hands. The scars, the way they healed and reformed constantly, the reminder that he was a weapon designed to survive anything. In his old universe, he'd been a joke, a side character, the comic relief. Here, he might actually matter. "Hey," he said to the group, "thanks for the rescue." "Don't thank us yet," Butcher replied. "The fun's just getting started." The safe house was actually a condemned meat-packing plant in Brooklyn that smelled like rust, old blood, and broken dreams. Frenchie assured everyone the blood smell was from the building's previous purpose, not recent activities, but nobody seemed entirely convinced. Wade stood in the main room, an open space with exposed brick, industrial equipment, and enough weapons to supply a small coup. Huey was setting up computer equipment. MM was meticulously organizing supplies with the dedication of someone who needed control in chaos. Kimiko sat sharpening a knife, watching Wade with unreadable eyes. "So," Wade said, breaking the silence, "this is cozy. Very serial killer chic. I approve." Butcher emerged from a back room carrying 2 bottles of whiskey. "Right then. Debrief time. Wilson, tell us everything you learned about Vought before they grabbed you." Wade accepted a bottle, took a long drink, and began. For 30 minutes, he laid it out. The Compound V trials in 7 different facilities. The mortality rates, 63% for adults, 78% for subjects over 40. The children dosed without parents' consent through hospitals, foster systems, military family programs. The cover-ups when powers manifested violently. The quiet eliminations of failed experiments. "They're not making heroes," Wade concluded. "They're making products and throwing away the defects." MM's jaw was tight. "We knew it was bad. We didn't know it was this systematic." "It gets worse." Wade pulled out a crumpled piece of paper from his pocket. He'd grabbed it during the escape. "This is a shipping manifest. Vaught's been exporting Compound V to 12 different countries: Russia, China, North Korea, Saudi Arabia. They're not just creating American heroes, they're proliferating superhumans globally." "Why?" Huey asked. "What's the endgame?" "Money and control," Butcher answered. "Create the problem, sell the solution. Every country with Compound V soups needs Vaught's hero management services, their containment technology, their expertise. It's the ultimate protection racket." Wade nodded. "And here's the fun part. They're losing control. Some of the international soups have gone rogue. There's a situation in Moscow with a subject they're calling Red Winter. In Beijing, they lost track of someone designated Project Dragon. Vaught's playing with fire, and the fire's learning to spread. This is bigger than we thought," MM said quietly. "It's always bigger than we think," Butcher replied. "That's why we need proof. Real, undeniable proof. Wilson, can you get us back into their systems? Their security will be tighter now. They know I breached them once." Wade considered. "But yeah, probably. I'm very good at breaking into places I'm not supposed to be. It's like my 3rd best skill after violence and annoying people." "What about Compound V itself?" Huey asked. "Could we get a sample, run our own tests, prove what it does?" Frenchie looked up from the explosive he was building. "I have contacts, underground doctors, chemists who do not ask questions. With a sample, we could analyze it, maybe even reverse engineer it." And do what? challenged. Make our own soups. That's Vaught's game. No, Butcher said slowly, an idea forming. But if we understand how it works, maybe we can make something that stops it. A counteragent, something that neutralizes compound V in the bloodstream. Wade whistled. That's actually brilliant and terrifying. You want to create a soup-killing drug. I want to level the playing field. Right now, Vaught's soups are untouchable. But if we could temporarily depower them... Butcher's smile was vicious. Then they're just people, and people can be hurt. There's another problem, Wade said. Homelander. That psychopath isn't going to stop hunting us. He's got X-ray vision, super hearing, and the emotional stability of a toddler with nuclear weapons. How do we operate with him breathing down our necks? We use you, Butcher said simply. Excuse me? You're the perfect distraction. Homelander's obsessed with you now. You damaged his ego. You can't be killed, and you don't fear him. That drives him mental. Butcher poured more whiskey. We use that. You draw him out, keep him focused on you while we work on the real operations. So I'm bait. You're a weapon that can't break, Butcher corrected, and that makes you the most dangerous person in this room. Wade considered this. In his universe, he'd been used as a weapon plenty of times, but usually against his will or for pay, or because he was too stupid to see the manipulation. This was different. These people were honest about it. They needed him, yes, but they weren't pretending it was anything else. Fine, Wade said, but I do it my way. No rules of engagement, no holding back, and definitely no "we need him alive" crap. If I get a shot at any of these corporate supervillains, I'm taking it. Agreed, Butcher said immediately. Wait, Huey interrupted. We're not murderers. We expose them, we bring them to justice, we... Wake up, Huey, Butcher cut him off. There is no justice for these people. The courts are bought, the government's bought, the media's bought. The only justice they'll face is the kind we deliver ourselves. That's not... He's right, said quietly, and everyone looked at him in surprise. I hate saying it, but Butcher's right. The system doesn't work against Vought. We've tried legal channels. We've tried exposure. They always win. Maybe it's time we stop playing by rules they ignore. Huey looked sick, but he didn't argue further. Kimiko signed something. Frenchie translated, "She asks what we do first." Wade stood, pacing the room. Okay, strategic thinking time. Vaught's got multiple facilities. The Brooklyn lab I saw is just one. If we want to really hurt them, we need to hit multiple sites simultaneously. Overwhelm their response, steal samples, gather evidence, and maybe, just maybe, free some of the people they're experimenting on. That's ambitious, said. We're 5 people. 6, Wade corrected. And one of us is unkillable, one's super strong, and the rest of you seem moderately competent with weapons and tactics. We can pull this off. There's another option, Butcher said, pulling out a burner phone. We have contacts, other people who've been hurt by Vought, families of victims, former employees. If we put out the call, we could assemble a larger team. How much do you trust them? Wade asked. Not at all. But desperation makes for strange alliances. Butcher stared at the phone. The question is, do we want to escalate this into a war? Because that's what we're talking about. Once we go loud, once we start hitting multiple facilities, Vought will bring everything down on us. The 7, private security, maybe even government assets they've bought. I vote war, Wade said cheerfully. War's fun. War gets people killed, countered. Only if you lose. Wade's expression turned serious. Look, I get it. You guys have been fighting smart, fighting careful, trying to minimize casualties. That's noble. But nobility doesn't win against people like Vought. You want to know how to beat them? You embrace the chaos. You become the thing they can't predict or control. You become their nightmare. And you've done this before, Huey asked. Kid, I've been the nightmare for decades. In my world, I fought alongside heroes, against heroes, for villains against villains. I've been on every side of every conflict. And I learned one thing. The side that's willing to go further usually wins. Butcher studied Wade carefully. You're saying we need to become worse than them. No, I'm saying you need to become what they fear. There's a difference. Wade grabbed another bottle. Vought operates on image, control, and predictability. They've mapped out every scenario, every response. But me? I'm from a different universe with different rules. I'm unpredictable chaos wrapped in a red suit, and chaos scares people who need control. The room fell silent. Finally, Butcher nodded. Right then, we go to war. But we do it smart. Hit them where it hurts, gather evidence, and turn the public against them. Wilson, you're our chaos agent. The rest of us will be surgical. Can I at least try to keep the body count low? Huey asked weakly. You can try, Butcher allowed, but the moment they threaten you, you put them down. All of you, understand. These people won't hesitate to kill us. We don't have the luxury of mercy. Checked his weapon. When do we start? Tomorrow night, Butcher decided. Frenchie, I need schematics for the Brooklyn facility and 2 backup locations. Huey, map their security protocols, find the gaps. Inventory our weapons and equipment. Kimiko. He looked at her and she signed something that made him smile. Yeah, that works. What about me? Wade asked. You're going shopping. Shopping? Butcher pulled out a duffel bag filled with cash. You need weapons, equipment, and a proper costume. That prison scrub look isn't going to cut it for what we're planning. There's an underground supplier in Queens. Tell him Butcher sent you. He'll set you up. Wade took the bag, feeling its weight. You're trusting me with this money? I'm trusting you want revenge as much as we do. Butcher met his eyes. Besides, where would you go? You don't exist in this world. No identity, no money, no home. We're all you've got right now. It was true, and Wade hated how true it was. In his universe, he had contacts, safe houses, bank accounts hidden under 47 different names. Here, he had nothing but his regeneration and his rage. Fine, Wade said. I'll get equipped, but I'm keeping any leftover cash. Deal. As the group dispersed to their tasks, Wade caught Kimiko watching him again. She signed something slow and deliberate. She says you're sad, Frenchie translated softly, under the jokes. Very sad. Wade's mask, metaphorical now since his actual mask was gone, cracked slightly. Yeah, well, immortality has its downsides. You live long enough, you lose everyone. You watch the world move on without you. You become a joke people tell, a meme, a has-been who can't die even when you want to. Kimiko signed again. She understands, Frenchie said. She knows what it is to be a weapon, to be used, to forget what it means to be human. Wade looked at Kimiko, really looked at her, saw the scars, the trauma, the way she held herself like violence was the only language she fluently spoke. We're quite a pair, huh? Wade said. She nodded. Well then, Wade stood, the moment of vulnerability passing. Let's go be weapons together, but this time we point ourselves at people who deserve it. Butcher raised his bottle. To war. They drank to that. A toast to violence, to revenge, to the desperate hope that maybe, just maybe, they could make a difference in a world designed to crush people like them. Outside, the New York night stretched on, full of Vought billboards and corporate superhero propaganda. But in this forgotten corner of Brooklyn, a plan was forming. and chaos was grinning. Homelander stood in the wreckage of the underground parking garage, his cape somehow still pristine despite tearing through 3 floors of concrete. Security teams scrambled around him, trying to assess damage, catalog stolen equipment, and avoid making eye contact with the seething superhero. "Sir," Ashley Barrett approached cautiously, tablet clutched like a life preserver. "We've reviewed the security footage. The intruders were identified as—" "I know who they were," Homelander said quietly, which was infinitely worse than shouting. "Billy Butcher and his pet terrorists, the same people who've been a thorn in our side for years, the same people you assured me were contained. We had no indication they would. And now they have Wilson." Homelander turned to face her, and Ashley actually stepped back. "The regenerating mouthy asshole who insulted me, vandalized my billboard, and just made me look weak in front of every camera in this building. We're spinning it as a heroic pursuit. The media's already—" "I don't care about the media." Homelander's eyes glowed red for a moment before he controlled himself. "I care that some interdimensional nobody is working with Butcher now. Do you understand what that means?" Ashley clearly didn't, but she nodded anyway. A-Train sped into the garage, breathless despite his super speed. "They're gone. Completely. Disappeared into the underground tunnels. I lost their trail near the old subway construction site." "Of course you did," Homelander said, "because you're useless. That's not— Get out of my sight." Homelander's voice was ice. A-Train ran. Madeline Stillwell arrived with Stan Edgar, both looking far too composed for Homelander's liking. Stan surveyed the damage with the expression of someone calculating repair costs rather than security breaches. "Homelander," Stan said evenly, "we need to discuss response strategies." "Response strategy? I'll tell you my response strategy. I'm going to find Butcher and his new friend, and I'm going to tear them apart slowly enough that they understand what happens when you embarrass me." "That's not a strategy, that's a tantrum," Stan replied, and the entire garage went silent. Nobody talked to Homelander that way. Nobody except Stan Edgar. Homelander's jaw clenched. "What would you suggest?" "We use this." Stan pulled up footage of the escape, Wade fighting alongside Kimiko, the teamwork, the efficiency. "Butchers recruited Wilson. That means they're planning something bigger. They wouldn't risk this extraction for anything less than a major operation. So we wait for them to attack?" "No. We anticipate their targets and prepare." Stan gestured to Madeline, who pulled up a map showing Vought facilities across New York. "There are 7 locations vulnerable to their knowledge and capabilities. We fortify them. We set traps. And when Butcher and Wilson show up, we capture or eliminate them permanently." "Why capture?" Homelander asked. "Why not just eliminate?" "Because Wilson's regeneration is worth studying. If we can replicate it, weaponize it, we could create an entire line of unkillable heroes." Stan's eyes gleamed with corporate hunger. "Imagine the 7, but with Wolverine's healing factor. The market value alone would be astronomical." Homelander hated how much sense that made. He hated that Stan was always thinking 5 steps ahead, always seeing assets where Homelander saw threats. But most of all, he hated that he couldn't just solve this with heat vision and overwhelming force. "Fine," Homelander said. "We fortify the facilities, we set traps. But when we catch them, Wilson's mine." "Agreed," Stan said. "But remember, we need him intact enough to study." "I'll try to contain my enthusiasm." Stan turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, and Homelander? The board is concerned about your recent behavior, the outbursts, the damaged property, the inability to maintain composure when provoked. We need America's greatest hero to be stable, predictable, controllable." The word controllable hung in the air like a threat. "I'm perfectly stable," Homelander said with a smile that would give children nightmares. "See that you remain that way." After they left, Homelander stood alone in the wreckage, fists clenched. His hearing picked up every whispered conversation in the building. Employees calling him unstable, security discussing whether he'd finally snapped, Ashley stress-eating in her office while updating her resume. And somewhere in the city, beyond his hearing range, Wade Wilson was laughing at him. The underground supplier shop looked like a gun store, had a baby with a comic book convention, and that baby was raised by paranoid survivalists. Wade stood in the middle of it all, grinning like a kid in a very violent candy store. "You're telling me," Wade said, holding a katana that hummed with perfect balance, "that this sword was used by an actual assassin in the Tokyo underworld?" The supplier, a man who'd introduced himself only as Gecko, nodded. "Killed 47 people before he retired. He's dead now, obviously. Aren't we all eventually?" Wade tested the blade's edge against his thumb. It cut clean through, drawing blood that healed instantly. "I'll take it. And its twin. That'll be..." "I'll take everything," Wade interrupted, looking at the wall of weapons. "The katanas, those pistols, are those custom 1911s? That sniper rifle, the grenades, the plastic explosive, those throwing knives and whatever that is." He pointed at something that looked like it belonged in a sci-fi movie. "That's an experimental railgun prototype. It's not technically legal." "Perfect. I'll take 3. Gecko's eyes widened. "You got the cash for all this?" Wade dropped Butcher's duffel bag on the counter. "Will this cover it?" Gecko counted quickly. "This'll cover about half. Then I'll owe you for the rest. Put it on Butcher's tab." "Butcher doesn't have a tab." "He does now." Wade was already strapping on a tactical harness, loading it with weapons. "Oh, and I need a new suit. Something red and black. Mask included. Extra pockets for snacks. Reinforced for when I get shot, which is often. I know a guy who does custom tactical gear. He's expensive. Butcher's paying. Butcher's going to kill you." "He can try. Lots of people have tried. I'm still here, they're mostly not." Wade found a mirror and examined himself. Even in borrowed civilian clothes, covered in weapons, he looked dangerous. "You know what? Make the suit dramatic. I want people to see me coming and think, oh no, that guy's going to ruin my day. I want fear and confusion in equal measure." Gecko studied him. "You're not from around here, are you?" "Different universe, actually. Long story involving a D-list villain and questionable physics." Wade loaded magazines into pouches. "Why, does it show?" "You talk like someone who thinks they're in a movie." "That's because I am in a movie, or a comic book, or a TV show, or possibly a fever dream someone's having after bad sushi. Reality's negotiable when you break the fourth wall as often as I do." Gecko stared at him like he was insane. "Don't worry about it," Wade said cheerfully. "Just get me the suit by tomorrow. We're going to war and I want to look fabulous while committing violence." By the time Wade returned to the safe house, he was carrying enough weapons to supply a small army and wearing a temporary mask Gecko had thrown in for free, probably just to get rid of him faster. Butcher looked at the arsenal Wade dumped on the table and raised an eyebrow. "I gave you money for weapons, not for starting World War III." "I'm very thorough." Wade started organizing his new toys. "Plus, Gecko says hi and you owe him $12,000. $12,000. Don't worry, I'm worth it. Watch." Wade grabbed one of the new katanas and threw it across the room. It embedded perfectly in a support beam 20 feet away, quivering slightly. "See? Precision, grace, unnecessary property damage." Was cleaning his own guns at another table. "We're supposed to be surgical, precise." You look like you're planning to level a city block. Why not both? Wade pulled out the railgun. Check this out. Gecko says it can punch through reinforced steel. I want to test it on Homelander's face. Get in line, Butcher muttered. Huey emerged from his computer setup, looking exhausted. I've mapped the Brooklyn facility. Guard rotations, camera placements, alarm systems. Frenchie's contact came through. We've got maintenance access codes for the service entrance. How many guards? Wade asked. 32 on night shift, plus automated defenses, plus potential superhuman security. So, light security. Got it. That's not light security. Kid, I once fought through a Hydra base with twice that number. Admittedly, I had more guns and fewer morals, but the principle holds. Wade was assembling one of his pistols. The muscle memory automatic. What about the experiments, the test subjects? Butcher pulled up surveillance photos. 12 current subjects in the facility. All homeless people recruited through false promises. 5 have already received compound phi injections. 3 survived with powers. 2 died. The other 7 are scheduled for treatment tomorrow. Wade's joking demeanor cracked. They're going to murder 7 people tomorrow for research. Welcome to Vought International, MM said darkly. Then we hit them tonight, Wade decided, before they can kill anyone else. We're not ready, Huey protested. We need more time to... Those people don't have more time, Wade's voice was sharp. Look, I get it. You want to plan, to minimize risk, to do this smart. But sometimes smart means fast. Sometimes smart means hitting them before they know you're coming. Butcher studied Wade carefully. You actually give a shit about the test subjects. I was a test subject once. They did things to me that... Let's just say I understand what it's like to be someone's science project. Wade's scars seemed more pronounced in the harsh lighting. So yeah, I give a shit. We save whoever we can. Kimiko signed something emphatic. Frenchie translated, she agrees. We go tonight. It's not a vote, Butcher said, but his tone suggested he was already convinced. But fine, we accelerate the timeline. Frenchie, how fast can you get us in? 2 hours to prep the equipment, 30 minutes to reach the facility. We go in at 2 a.m. when the guards change shifts. Weapons check. Make sure everyone's loaded for bear. Huey, you're our eyes. Monitor from the van. Alert us to any changes in security patterns. Butcher looked at Wade. And you're our battering ram. Make noise, draw attention, let the rest of us work. I'm good at making noise, Wade confirmed. Kimiko, you're with Wilson. Keep him from doing anything too crazy. Kimiko signed something that made Frenchie laugh nervously. What did she say? Wade asked. She said you're already crazy, but she'll keep you company in the madness. Wade grinned. I like her. As they prepared their gear, checking weapons and running through the plan, Wade felt something unfamiliar. Purpose. Not the mercenary purpose of completing a job for pay. Real purpose. Saving people, stopping monsters. It felt good, uncomfortable, but good. Hey, Butcher, Wade said while loading magazines. Why do you do this? The whole fighting Vought thing. What's your stake? Butcher's hands stilled on his weapon. They killed my wife. Homelander specifically, murdered her and covered it up. Made it look like an accident. Jesus. No, just Homelander. But close enough. Butcher's smile was bitter. I've spent years trying to expose him, to make him pay. But the bastard's untouchable. So I go after Vought instead. Cut off his support, his resources, his shield. Eventually he'll be vulnerable. And when he is... Butcher didn't finish, but he didn't need to. I'll help you kill him, Wade offered. When the time comes, I'll hold him down. You can do the honors. Appreciated. Butcher paused. Why do you care? This isn't your world. These aren't your people. Wade thought about that, about the people he'd lost in his own universe, about the cycles of violence he'd perpetuated, about the chance to, maybe, possibly, do something that mattered. Because I'm tired of being the joke, Wade said finally. In my world, I'm Deadpool, the comedy relief, Deadpool, the side character, Deadpool, the guy who shows up for merchandise sales. Here, nobody knows me. I could be anything. I could actually matter. So yeah, I care, because for once I get to choose what kind of person I want to be. The room was quiet. Well, shit, said finally. That was almost profound. Don't get used to it. I'm mostly just violence and pop culture references. But Wade smiled behind his temporary mask. At 1:30 a.m., they loaded into Frenchie's van. 5 people against a corporation, 5 people against systematic evil, 5 people who decided that tonight they'd make a difference or die trying. Well, 4 people who might die. Wade was pretty sure he'd be fine. As they drove through the dark streets toward the facility, Wade checked his weapons one last time and thought about the test subjects waiting inside, waiting to be saved or to die. Hey, he said to the group, thanks for giving a shit. About them. About this. In my world, heroes often talk big but do nothing. You guys actually act. We're not heroes, Butcher said. No, Wade agreed. You're better. You're real. The facility loomed ahead, lit by security lights, surrounded by fencing, guarded by people who had no idea what was about to hit them. All right, team, Wade said, chambering around. Let's go ruin some evil scientists' night. Amen to that, Butcher replied. They were going to war. The Brooklyn facility looked like a medical research center from the outside. Clean, modern, completely unremarkable except for security that belonged on a military installation. 12-foot fences, armed guards, cameras everywhere. The kind of place that said, we have nothing to hide while hiding everything. Wade crouched on a rooftop across the street with Kimiko, watching Frenchie work his magic on the security panel at the service entrance. Butcher and were positioned at the rear exit, ready to cut off any retreat. You know, Wade whispered to Kimiko, in my universe, we usually had a telepath or a hacker or someone with actual useful infiltration powers. Here, we've got a French guy with lockpicks and hope. Kimiko signed something. What's that? She repeated it slower, but Wade still had no idea. Right. I should probably learn sign language. Add it to the list of things I'll never get around to doing, right after therapy and learning to cook something besides chimichangas. His earpiece crackled. We're in, Frenchie reported. Service entrance is open. Security systems are on a loop. You've got maybe 4 minutes before they notice something's wrong. 4 minutes? Wade stood. That's plenty of time for maximum chaos. Kimiko, you ready? She cracked her knuckles in response. They dropped from the rooftop, landing in the alley with barely a sound. Wade's knees protested, his healing factor immediately repairing microfractures. Kimiko landed like a cat, completely silent. The service entrance led to a maintenance corridor, industrial lighting, concrete walls, the smell of disinfectant trying to mask something worse underneath. They moved fast, Wade's combat instincts and Kimiko's supernatural awareness forming an efficient team. First guard never saw them coming. Kimiko was a blur, her enhanced strength putting him down silently. Wade caught the falling body, lowering it gently. See? Surgical, Wade whispered. The second and third guards were at a junction point, talking about last night's basketball game. Wade threw a knife, not to kill, just to wound. It embedded in one guard's shoulder. While he screamed, Kimiko charged the other, a devastating kick that shattered his knee. Okay, maybe not surgical, Wade admitted. More like aggressive dentistry. They moved deeper into the facility. Wade's danger sense was screaming now, that familiar tingle that said trouble was close. They passed through a door marked "Authorized Personnel Only" and entered Hell. The experimentation wing was pristine white walls and human suffering. Cells lined both sides of a long corridor, each containing a person in varying states of transformation. One man's skin was turning metallic, his screams echoing off tile. A woman was growing scales, her body rejecting the changes, blood seeping from rupturing flesh. A teenager was unconscious, machines monitoring a heartbeat that kept stopping and restarting. "Jesus Christ," Wade breathed. Kimiko looked at him, her eyes holding a terrible understanding. She'd been in cells like these. She knew this horror intimately. "We're getting them out," Wade decided. "All of them. I don't care what the plan was." He started opening cells, smashing electronic locks with his gun butt when codes didn't work. Some subjects could walk, others needed support. One man's powers were already manifesting, strength that cracked floor tiles as he stood. "Listen up," Wade addressed the freed subjects. "We're here to rescue you. Follow us. Do exactly what we say, and maybe you'll live through this. Don't try anything heroic. Don't split off. And definitely don't trust anyone wearing a Vought security uniform. Questions?" A woman with half-formed crystal growths on her arms spoke. "Who are you?" "Call me Wade, or Deadpool, or that lunatic who broke us out." "Your choice." Wade distributed weapons from his seemingly endless supply. "Can any of you shoot?" 3 raised their hands. "Great. Your rear guard. Everyone else stay in the middle of the group. We're heading for the east exit. Frenchie, you copy." "Copy," the radio crackled. "But we have a problem. Vought security is scrambling. They know you're there." "How many?" "All of them, plus 2 enhanced individuals. Scanning their files now. Oh, merd. They've released containment protocols. They're sending soups." Wade's grin widened. Now it's a party. They moved as a unit, Wade on point, Kimiko bringing up the rear with the armed subjects. The corridor opened into a laboratory space filled with equipment worth millions. Wade saw containers of Compound V, enough to create an army of soups. "Frenchie, we've got the mother lode here. How much of this stuff should we grab?" "All of it, if possible, but priority is the people, mon ami." Wade started filling his bag with Compound V vials. The subjects stared at the substance that had ruined their lives with mixed expressions of hatred and hunger. "Don't even think about it," Wade warned. "This stuff's poison. It'll kill most of you and turn the survivors into something you don't want to be." The metallic-skinned man spoke up. "It already turned us into things we don't want to be." "Yeah, but you're still human, still you. More Compound V just makes you more of Vaught's property." Wade sealed the bag. "Trust me on this." Alarms screamed throughout the facility. Red lights bathed everything in crimson. "Unauthorized personnel detected," a PA system announced. "Security teams mobilizing. All subjects return to cells immediately." "Or what?" Wade shouted at the ceiling. "You'll experiment on us? Little late for threats, you corporate psychopaths." The laboratory doors exploded inward, not blown open, exploded with superhuman force. A figure stepped through the smoke, 7 feet tall, muscles rippling with obvious Compound V enhancement. His eyes glowed the same red as Homelander's. "Oh, good," Wade said. "A mini-boss. I was wondering when we'd get to the fun part." The enhanced guard charged. Wade pushed the subjects back and met the charge head-on. They collided with enough force to crack the floor. The guard's strength was immense, definitely super soldier level. He grabbed Wade's throat, squeezing. "Facility property. Must be secured," the guard growled, his speech pattern suggesting the Compound 5 had damaged his cognition. Wade stabbed him in the eye with a knife. The guard screamed, dropping Wade and stumbling back. His eye healed, but slower than Wade's regeneration. Enhanced, but not perfect. "Kimiko, handle the subjects. This guy's mine." Wade drew both katanas, the blades singing as they cleared their sheaths. The guard recovered, enraged now. He grabbed a steel table and threw it. Wade cut through it mid-flight, both halves crashing into walls behind him. The guard charged again. Wade met him with precise sword work, targeting joints, tendons, anywhere the healing would be slower. But the guard was learning. He grabbed Wade's arm, crushed it with audible snapping sounds. Wade felt bones shatter, nerves scream. His healing kicked in, but the guard was already moving, throwing Wade through a wall of equipment. "Okay," Wade groaned, pulling himself out of wreckage, arm still rebuilding itself. "That hurt. Good to know you're actually dangerous." The guard charged once more. This time, Wade timed it perfectly. He dropped to the ground at the last second, letting the guard's momentum carry him forward. As the guard passed overhead, Wade drove both katanas up. Through the guard's chest, piercing heart and lungs. The guard crashed down, wheezing, healing but not fast enough. Wade finished it with a shot to the head. "Sorry, big guy," Wade said to the corpse, "but you chose the wrong career path." Kimiko appeared beside him, covered in blood that wasn't hers. She signed rapidly. Wade's radio crackled before he could ask for translation. "Wade, second soup incoming. Enhanced speed and strength. Female, code name Shockwave." The corridor ahead rippled with distorted air. A woman appeared, moving so fast she was nearly invisible. She hit Wade like a freight train, carrying him through two walls before he could react. They crashed into what looked like an office, Wade's spine shattering on impact with a desk. "Fast. Noted." Wade gasped as his spine rebuilt itself. Shockwave stood over him, her hands vibrating at super speed. "You're resilient. Good. This'll be more satisfying." She punched him repeatedly, each strike enhanced by her vibrating molecules. It was like being hit with a jackhammer. Wade's face caved in, rebuilt, caved in again. His ribs shattered, healed, shattered again. But pain was old hat for Wade Wilson. While she was focused on beating him to paste, Wade grabbed a pen from the destroyed desk and stabbed it into her thigh with regenerating strength. Shockwave screamed, her concentration breaking, her speed faltering. Wade headbutted her with a skull that was still reforming. Rule 1 of fighting regenerators: we don't stay down. He threw her off, rolled to his feet despite legs that were still healing, and pulled out a grenade. "Let's see how fast you really are." He threw it. Shockwave's eyes widened. She tried to vibrate away, but Wade had thrown two grenades, one high, one low. She dodged the first, caught the second with her super speed reflexes by mistake. The explosion in the enclosed space was devastating. When the smoke cleared, Shockwave was alive but hurt. Her healing factor was weaker than Wade's. Burns covered her body, one arm bent wrong. "Nothing personal," Wade said, drawing his pistol. "You're just on the wrong side of history." "Wait." Shockwave raised her good hand. "Please. They forced me. The Compound V, the work, all of it. I was a subject first. They made me into this, then made me work for them. I don't want to..." Wade's danger sense warned him a split second before Shockwave's other hand, the broken one that wasn't broken anymore, lashed out with a concealed blade. He jerked back, but the blade caught his throat, opening his carotid artery. Blood sprayed. Wade gurgled something uncomplimentary about her ancestry. Shockwave tried to run, but Kimiko appeared in the doorway. The fight lasted 3 seconds. Kimiko was merciless, efficient, and definitely not interested in hearing surrender speeches. Wade's throat healed. "Thanks," he rasped as his vocal cords reformed. "I almost fell for the sob story." Kimiko signed something. "Yeah, I know. Trust no one. Good advice." Wade collected his weapons. Status? His radio was damaged, just static. Great. They fought their way back to the subjects, finding them cornered by 6 guards in heavy tactical gear. The 3 armed subjects were returning fire, but they were outgunned and terrified. Wade and Kimiko hit the guards from behind. It was brutal, efficient, and exactly as violent as necessary. When the last guard fell, Wade did a quick head count. 1 subject dead, the teenager who'd been unconscious, caught in the crossfire. The others were alive, traumatized, but alive. "Move," Wade ordered. "Kimiko, take point. I'll carry the wounded." He hoisted the woman with crystal growths over his shoulder despite her protests. They ran through corridors now filled with smoke from burning equipment, past cells of other subjects they couldn't save, past laboratories where years of evil research would burn with the facility. Frenchie had set charges throughout the building. When they triggered, this place would be erased from existence. The east exit was ahead, door open, Butcher's van visible beyond. Freedom was 50 feet away. That's when Homelander crashed through the ceiling. Homelander descended through concrete dust and rebar like a nightmare given form. His cape settled perfectly around his shoulders, despite the destruction, his smile bright and terrible, his eyes promising violence. "Going somewhere, Wade?" His voice was cheerful, conversational, like he hadn't just torn through a building to get here. The test subjects screamed, scrambling backward. Wade stepped forward, putting himself between them and America's greatest monster. "Homelander, great entrance. Very dramatic. Did you practice that, or are you naturally this extra?" "I've been thinking about you all day," Homelander said, landing gracefully. "About how you embarrassed me. About how you made me look weak. About how I'm going to spend the next several hours pulling you apart, piece by piece, and watching you heal, just so I can do it again. Kinky. But I'm not really into the whole torture thing. Had enough of that in my origin story?" Wade gestured to the subjects behind him. "These people are leaving. You can try to stop them, but that means going through me first." "Oh, Wade." Homelander's smile widened. "That's exactly what I want." He moved faster than thought, crossing the distance in a microsecond. His fist caught Wade in the chest with the force of a freight train. Wade felt ribs explode, his spine compress, organs rupture. He flew backward through 2 walls, cratering into the laboratory beyond. Homelander was on him instantly, grabbing his throat. "You think you're special. You think your little healing trick makes you my equal." Wade's hands scrabbled for weapons, finding nothing. His throat was being crushed faster than it could heal. Blood vessels burst in his eyes, his brain screaming for oxygen. His regeneration couldn't provide fast enough. Then Kimiko hit Homelander like a missile. She'd launched herself from the corridor at full speed, all her enhanced strength focused into a single tackle that actually moved Homelander. Not much, maybe 3 feet, but enough for Wade to gasp air into rebuilding lungs. Homelander grabbed Kimiko by the throat. "You, I remember you, the mute compound V failure. Let me fix that permanently." His eyes glowed red. "No!" Wade drew his pistol and emptied the magazine into Homelander's head. The bullets bounced off, but they got his attention. Homelander dropped Kimiko and turned those heat vision eyes on Wade. The beams lanced out, burning through Wade's chest, superheating his internal organs. The pain was extraordinary. Wade screamed, his body trying to heal damage faster than it was being inflicted. But pain was currency Wade had been spending his whole life. He charged through the heat vision, flesh burning, bones visible through cooked meat, and tackled Homelander. They crashed through the floor into the level below, a desperate grapple between unkillable and unstoppable. "Get them out!" Wade roared at Kimiko, his voice raw from a throat that kept burning and healing. Homelander laughed. Actually laughed. "You think you can hurt me? You think anything you do matters?" Wade headbutted him. His skull cracked, healed, cracked again. "I don't need to hurt you. I just need to buy them time." Homelander's expression shifted from amusement to rage. He grabbed Wade's head with both hands and squeezed. Wade felt his skull compressing, brains trying to push through fracturing bone. His regeneration worked overtime, but physics was physics. Enough pressure would reduce him to paste. Above them, Wade heard gunfire, shouting, the sounds of subjects escaping. Butcher's voice barking orders, Frenchie counting down the explosives. Worth it, Wade thought as his skull began to collapse. All worth it. Then MM's voice echoed through the facility. "Homelander, we've got your Compound V research, all of it. Every vial, every file, every dirty secret." Homelander stopped squeezing. His hands trembled with barely contained fury. "You're lying." "Come up here and find out," Butcher's voice replied. "We've got enough evidence to prove what Vought did to create you, where you really came from, what they did to make you. How would America feel about their hero being a lab rat pumped full of drugs since birth?" Homelander's face transformed, rage becoming something worse, fear. Not physical fear, but existential terror. The fear of being exposed, of being revealed as manufactured rather than miraculous. He dropped Wade and flew upward through the ceiling, following Butcher's voice. Wade's skull reformed slowly, painfully. He lay in wreckage, every nerve ending screaming, his regeneration working so hard he could feel it burning through calories at an absurd rate. "Get up," he told himself. "Get up, you unkillable idiot. People need you." He got up. The facility was chaos. Fires burned where Frenchie's charges had detonated early. Sprinklers created a rain of blood-tinged water. Wade limped through destruction toward where he'd last heard Butcher's voice. He found them on the roof. Butcher, MM, and the subjects, all backing toward the edge where Frenchie's van waited in an alley below on some kind of hydraulic lift. Homelander hovered 20 feet away, eyes glowing, barely holding back total destruction. "Give me the research," Homelander demanded. "No," Butcher said simply. He held a laptop, Huey's probably, filled with files. "This goes public and you're finished. Vaught's finished. The world learns what you really are. I'll kill all of you. Right now, before you can transmit anything." "It's already uploading," Butcher lied smoothly. "Kill us, and it releases automatically. You've got a choice. Let us walk away, or destroy everything Vought built trying to stop information that's already spreading." Homelander's eyes flickered between targets, calculating odds, assessing threats. Wade could see the war happening behind those baby blues. Rage versus self-preservation, ego versus survival. "This isn't over," Homelander said finally. "Never thought it was," Butcher replied. Homelander's eyes locked on Wade. "You and me. This isn't finished." "Looking forward to round 3, Wade managed, despite lungs that were still rebuilding. Homelander flew away, a streak of red, white, and blue disappearing into the night sky. The moment he was gone, everyone exhaled simultaneously. "That was the dumbest bluff in history," MM said. "We don't even have the files uploaded. The laptop's not even on." "He doesn't know that," Butcher grinned. "Now move before he realizes and comes back." They descended to the van on Frenchie's improvised lift system, a construction platform jerry-rigged with stolen equipment. The test subjects crammed into the van, along with bags of Compound V samples and stolen research data. Wade collapsed against the van's exterior, his body finally catching up with the damage he'd taken. Every cell was screaming. His regeneration was slower now, exhausted from the constant trauma. Kimiko appeared beside him, signing something. "I still don't speak sign language," Wade said weakly. She held up her phone, typed, "You saved them. You're a hero." "Nah," Wade replied. "Heroes don't exist in this world, just people trying not to be monsters." Huey leaned out the driver's window. "Wade, we need to move. More Vought security is coming." "Give me a sec. Still growing back important organs." "Now!" Wade hauled himself into the van. They peeled out, sirens wailing behind them, the facility burning in the rearview mirror. 11 test subjects sat cramped in the back, alive because 5 people had decided corporate evil was worth fighting. "Where do we take them?" Wade asked. "Safe houses," Butcher answered. "We've got contacts, people who help Vought victims disappear, start new lives." He looked at the freed subjects. "You'll get new identities, money to start over, and medical care for the Compound V effects. After that, you're on your own. Can't risk keeping you around. Vought will be looking." The metallic-skinned man spoke. "Thank you, all of you. We thought we were going to die in there." "Some of us did," the woman with crystal growths said quietly, referring to the teenager they'd lost. The van went silent. "We couldn't save everyone," Wade said, "but we saved who we could. That has to count for something." "Does it?" MM asked. "Does it count when Vought has dozens of other facilities doing the same thing? When we saved 11 people but left hundreds still trapped?" "It counts to these 11, Wade replied. "Ask them if it counts." They drove through the pre-dawn darkness, a van full of broken people who just won the smallest victory against impossible odds. Behind them, the facility burned. Ahead, Vought International continued operating, continued experimenting, continued turning people into products. But for tonight, 11 people were free, and 5 people had proven that maybe, just maybe, you could fight corporate monsters and survive. Wade looked at his hands. Scarred and bloody and still healing. In his universe, he'd been a joke. Here, he was something else, something more. "Hey, Butcher," Wade said. "What's next?" Butcher lit a cigarette, passed it to Wade. "Next, we analyze the Compound V samples, figure out how to stop it, and then we hit another facility, and another, until Vought has nothing left but lawyers and empty promises. That's a long game. It's the only game we've got." Wade took a drag, feeling smoke fill regenerating lungs. "Then I'm in for the long haul. Someone needs to keep you guys from getting killed." "You're going to fit right in with this dysfunctional family," MM said. "That's the nicest thing anyone said to me in weeks." The sun was rising over New York as they reached the first safe house. They unloaded the subjects, distributed cash and contact information, and said goodbyes that felt inadequate for what they'd all survived. When the last subject disappeared into their new life, Butcher turned to his team. "Good work tonight. We hurt them. Not enough, but we hurt them. And we'll keep hurting them until they break, or we do." "We won't break," Kimiko signed. "Damn right we won't," Wade agreed. They drove to their own safe house as the city woke up around them, oblivious to the war being fought in its shadows. Vaught's billboards still dominated the skyline. Homelander's face still smiled down from every corner. But in a forgotten corner of Brooklyn, 5 people had proven that monsters could bleed, and bleeding monsters could eventually die. 3 days after the Brooklyn facility raid, Wade Wilson was officially the most wanted enhanced individual in America, at least according to Vaught's internal communications, which Huey had been monitoring obsessively. The safe house had become their war room. Maps covered every wall, marked with Vought facilities, security details, and potential targets. Huey's computer setup had grown into something that would make a hacker collective jealous. had organized their weapons inventory with military precision. Frenchie was building explosive devices that probably violated 17 international treaties. Kimiko sharpened knives while watching footage of their raid on repeat. And Wade was eating his fourth chimichanga of the day, despite MM's complaints about the smell. "How can you eat at a time like this?" asked, cleaning his rifle for the third time. "I burn through calories like a furnace. The healing factor is hungry." Wade took another bite. "Also, anxiety makes me snacky, and we're planning to assault another vault facility, which generates approximately all of the anxiety." Butcher entered from the back room, carrying files and looking like he hadn't slept in the 3 days since the raid, because he probably hadn't. "Right, gather round. We've got decisions to make." The team assembled around the central table. Butcher spread out surveillance photos of 3 locations. The Brooklyn job cost Vought approximately $60 million in damages, destroyed years of research, and made the news despite their spin doctors working overtime. They're calling it a terrorist attack by anti-hero extremists. We're officially worse than the supervillains we're fighting. "Good," Wade said. "I always wanted to be notorious." "The problem," Butcher continued, "is that Homelander's obsessed now. He's personally overseeing security at every Compound V facility. He's hunting us, and eventually he'll find us. So we give him what he wants," Wade suggested. "Me. Let him chase me while you hit the real targets. That's suicide. For anyone else, sure, but I literally can't die. I'm the perfect distraction." Shook his head. "He'll tear you apart and scatter the pieces. You'll be healing forever, conscious but helpless. That's worse than death." "Been there, actually. Long story involving Wolverine and a misunderstanding about who ate the last slice of pizza." "I recovered." Wade's tone was light, but his eyes were serious. "Look, we all know I'm the variable Vought can't account for. Use me." Huey pulled up new footage. "It's not just Homelander we need to worry about. Vaught's called in the 7. All of them. They're forming hunting parties." The screen showed the 7 in a press conference, Homelander at center, his smile perfect and terrifying, flanked by Queen Maeve, A-Train, the Deep, Black Noir, and 2 members Wade hadn't seen before. "Who are the new ones?" Wade asked. "Stormfront and Translucent," Huey explained. "Stormfront has electrical powers and a social media following that's problematic. Translucent can turn invisible. He's an asshole." "They're all assholes," corrected. "Fair point." Wade studied the team. "Okay, tactical assessment. Homelander's the real threat. Invulnerable, super strength, heat vision, flight. Queen Maeve's strong but has a conscience, maybe exploitable. A-Train's fast but fragile. The Deep is useless outside water. Black Noir is unknown but dangerous. Stormfront's electricity could be a problem. Translucent. I'll just keep shooting until I hit something invisible." "You're talking about fighting all of them," Frenchie said. "That's not a battle. That's suicide with extra steps." "Unless we separate them," Wade countered. "Hit multiple targets simultaneously. Force them to split up. They can't be everywhere at once." Butcher leaned forward. "You're suggesting we attack 3 facilities at the same time. We've got the manpower now." Wade pulled up his phone, showing messages from some of the people they'd rescued. "The test subjects from Brooklyn? Some of them want revenge. They've got powers, motivation, and nothing left to lose. We build a small army." "Civilians," protested. "Traumatized civilians with unstable powers. That's a disaster waiting to happen. So we train them. We've got 3 days before Vought moves their most sensitive research." Huey found the transfer orders. 3 days to prepare. 3 days to turn victims into fighters. The room fell silent. Finally, Butcher spoke. "It's insane." Yes, it'll probably get us all killed. Probably. And even if we succeed, Vought will retaliate with everything they have. Absolutely. Butcher's smile was sharp. Fuck it. Let's do it. Huey, contact the test subjects who responded. Frenchie, you're in charge of weapons and explosives training. Tactical coordination. Kimiko, hand-to-hand combat instruction. And Wade? Yeah? You're going to teach them how to survive fighting gods. The next 72 hours were brutal. They converted an abandoned warehouse into a makeshift training facility. 11 former test subjects showed up, not everyone they'd rescued, but enough. Each one had powers, trauma, and rage that needed channeling. Wade found himself in the strange position of being a mentor. "Okay, class," he said, addressing the group in their warehouse. "Welcome to How Not to Die When Fighting Superpowered Corporate Fascists 101. I'm Professor Deadpool, and I have 0 teaching credentials, but extensive experience in not dying." The metallic-skinned man, Michael, his name was, raised his hand. "What if we don't have healing factors?" "Then don't get hit." Radical concept, I know. Wade drew a katana. "The key to surviving superhuman combat is accepting that you're outmatched. They're faster, stronger, and tougher. But they're also arrogant, predictable, and used to winning easily. That's your advantage." He had Kimiko demonstrate, having her attack while he showed defensive techniques, redirecting force, targeting weak points, using environment as weapons. "See how she's stronger than me?" Wade narrated while dodging. "Way stronger. But strength doesn't matter if she can't land hits. Movement, positioning, anticipation. Those win fights, not power levels." They drilled for hours. Wade pushed them hard, maybe too hard, but gentle training wouldn't prepare them for what was coming. During a break, the woman with crystal growths, Sarah, approached him. "You're different than I expected," she said. "How so?" "You joke constantly, but you care. You hide it, but it's there." She touched one of her crystal formations. "These powers are killing me. The doctor said my body's rejecting the compound V. I've got maybe a year before the crystals reach my heart." Wade's joking demeanor faded. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. That's why I'm here. If I'm dying anyway, I want it to mean something. I want to hurt the people who did this to me." Her eyes hardened. "Teach me how to fight gods." "You don't fight them," Wade said quietly. "You survive them. And surviving is the greatest victory against people who expect you to break." By day 3, they had something resembling a strike force. Not good. They'd need months for that. But functional. Desperate, traumatized people with powers and vengeance made surprisingly effective soldiers. The night before the operation, Butcher gathered everyone. "Tomorrow we hit 3 facilities simultaneously," he announced. "Teams of 5 at each location. Objectives are simple. Free any test subjects, destroy research data, steal Compound V samples, and get out alive." He assigned teams. Wade would lead one group at the Manhattan facility, the most heavily defended. Butcher would take Queens. Would coordinate Brooklyn 2.0. "The 7 will respond," Butcher continued. "When they do, you scatter. Don't try to be heroes. Don't try to fight them. Just survive and regroup. Understood?" Nods all around. "Good. Get some rest. Tomorrow we remind Vought that their victims can bite back." Wade couldn't sleep. He stood on the warehouse roof, looking at the city lights, thinking about everything that led him here. A different universe, a different life, a different chance. Kimiko joined him, signing a question. Wade still didn't understand sign language, so she typed on her phone. "Are you scared?" "Terrified," Wade admitted. "I can't die, but everyone else can. What if I get them killed? What if this goes wrong?" It already went wrong. They made us into weapons. Now we choose who to aim at. That's actually profound. I have my moments. They sat in comfortable silence. Below, people who'd been victims were learning to be fighters. It wasn't justice. Justice would be Vought executives in prison, their programs dismantled, their victims compensated. But it was something. It was resistance. "Hey, Kimiko," Wade said. "In my universe, I had a saying, maximum effort. It meant giving everything even when you knew you'd probably lose, especially then." She smiled and signed something. Wade pulled out his phone to translate. The app read, "Then tomorrow, we give maximum effort." "Yeah," Wade agreed. "Tomorrow we do." The sun rose on New York City, a city that didn't know a war was being fought in its shadows. Vought billboards proclaimed a bright future of heroes and hope. Reality told a different story. But in a warehouse in Brooklyn, 15 people prepared to write their own chapter in that story. Some would survive, some wouldn't, but all of them would fight. Because victims who fought back stopped being victims. They became something more dangerous. They became a threat. The three-pronged assault launched at dawn. Wade's team hit the Manhattan facility with controlled chaos. Compound V test subjects using their powers in ways Vought never anticipated. Former victims, now warriors. They freed 18 people, destroyed research worth millions, and escaped minutes before the 7 arrived. A-Train pursued them through the streets at super speed, but Wade had prepared for that. Caltrops made from crystallized powers courtesy of Sarah bought them crucial seconds. They scattered into the underground tunnels, ghosts in Vaught's machine. Butcher's team in Queens encountered Stormfront. The electrical soup was vicious, powerful, and completely unprepared for Frenchie's improvised electromagnetic pulse device. They didn't kill her, couldn't, not without becoming what they fought. But they hurt her, made her hesitate, made her afraid. That was victory enough. MM's group in Brooklyn faced Black Noir, Vaught's silent assassin. The fight was brutal, desperate, and Michael, the metallic-skinned man, died buying time for others to escape. His last words were, "worth it." They carried his body out, refusing to leave him as another anonymous casualty in Vaught's war on humanity. By noon, 3 facilities were burning. Vaught's stock dropped 6%. The media spun it as terrorism, but social media told different stories. Videos leaked, test subjects begging for mercy, failed experiments, body bags. Vaught's PR machine scrambled to contain the damage, but cracks were showing in their perfect facade. The teams regrouped in a new safe house, exhausted and bloodied, but alive. Mostly alive. Michael's absence was a wound they all felt. "We hurt them," Butcher said, addressing the assembled fighters. "We made them bleed, and we're going to keep bleeding them until there's nothing left but bones and lawsuits." Wade stood apart from the celebration, if you could call it that. He'd fought gods before, but never with this much at stake. Never with people who actually mattered to him. "You look troubled, mon ami," Frenchie said, appearing beside him with 2 beers. "Just thinking about what comes next," Wade replied, accepting the bottle. "Homelander's not going to stop. Neither is Vought. This isn't over. It's barely started. Then we keep fighting. People will die. More Michaels, more casualties. Is it worth it?" Frenchie considered this. "Ask the 37 people we freed today if it was worth it. Ask Sarah, who has maybe 6 months left but chose to spend it fighting. Ask Kimiko, who was a weapon until you showed her she could be more." Wade looked across the room at Kimiko, who was teaching one of the freed subjects how to channel their powers more effectively. At Huey, who'd evolved from terrified kid to tactical coordinator. At MM, who'd set aside his need for control to embrace necessary chaos. At Butcher, who'd weaponized his grief into something approaching hope. "This universe is weird," Wade said. "Darker than mine, more cynical. But maybe it needs that. Maybe it needs people willing to get their hands dirty fighting monsters in capes. And what does Wade Wilson need? Wade smiled behind his regenerating face. I need to matter. For once in my long, ridiculous existence, I need to be part of something that actually means something. Then you're in the right place. Across the city in Vought Tower, Homelander stood before floor-to-ceiling windows, watching the sun set over his domain. Behind him, Stan Edgar reviewed damage reports with increasing concern. 3 facilities destroyed, research lost, public opinion shifting. And at the center of it all, an unkillable man from another universe who decided to become their reckoning. We need to eliminate him, Homelander said, permanently. Agreed, Stan replied. But Wilson's just the catalyst. The real problem is what he represents. Proof that we can be fought. Proof that our soups can lose. That's what's dangerous. Then we make an example, something so brutal, so public, that no one dares challenge us again. Stan Edgar smiled, cold and calculating. I was hoping you'd say that. I have a plan. Back in the safe house, Wade's danger sense suddenly screamed. Not immediate threat, future threat. Something big was coming. Something that would change everything. Butcher, Wade called across the room. We need to talk about what Vought's going to do next, about how far they'll go to stop us. How far? Wade thought about his universe, about the stories where heroes fell and villains won, about the darkness that lurked beneath every colorful costume. As far as it takes, they'll burn the city if they have to. They'll kill hundreds, thousands just to maintain control. Wade met Butcher's eyes. The question is, how far are we willing to go to stop them? The room fell silent. Everyone understood what Wade was really asking. Were they willing to become the very thing they fought? Were they willing to cross lines that, once crossed, could never be uncrossed? We do what we have to, Butcher said finally, but we don't become them. That's the only rule that matters. Wade nodded. Then we fight smart. We fight dirty. But we remember why we're fighting, for the people who can't fight back. For the victims, for everyone Vought's ever hurt. Sarah raised her crystalline hand, and we make them pay for every single one. The others echoed the sentiment, a room full of broken people who decided to break back. It wasn't heroic, it wasn't even particularly noble, but it was real. And real was exactly what this universe needed. Outside, the night settled over New York. Vought's machinery continued grinding. The 7 continued their patrols. Corporate evil continued its march. But in the shadows, something new was growing. A resistance, a reckoning. Wade Wilson looked at his team, his strange, dysfunctional, beautiful team, and allowed himself a moment of hope. Not the naive hope of his home universe, but the grim, determined hope of people who'd stared into darkness and decided to light a match. All right, he said, raising his beer, to maximum effort, to fighting gods and surviving, to being unkillable, unbreakable, and unreasonably annoying. They raised their drinks. And to the boys, Butcher added, may we live long enough to finish what we started. To the boys, they echoed. In another universe, Wade Wilson was Deadpool, the comedic anti-hero. In this universe, he was something different, something more. He was hope with katanas, vengeance with a healing factor, the chaos variable that corrupt systems couldn't predict or control. And he was just getting started. The war against Vought International had begun in earnest. Blood had been spilled on both sides, facilities burned, secrets exposed, and in the center of it all, an unkillable man from another dimension had found his purpose. The city didn't know it yet, but everything was about to change, because Wade Wilson had learned something important in his time here. You didn't need to be the hero. You just needed to be willing to fight when everyone else looked away. And fight he would. Maximum effort, always. May the Force be with you. More stories await.